Hi everyone, thank you for tuning into this week's video on the Spark Your Speaking channel. Today we are going to talk about 3 ways to capture your audience's attention and to keep their attention until the end of your presentation or your talk. For those of you who are tuning in for the very first time, welcome. My name is Kathy Lee and I'm an international executive speaking coach, and I've helped hundreds of students in 108 different countries elevate their public speaking skills. If you want to improve your speaking and or communication skills, remember to hit the red subscribe button below this video so you don't miss out on our weekly public speaking videos. Okay, let's get started. It's not good enough to just have amazing content. You need to be able to deliver it in a way that is compelling and will keep your audience engaged start to finish. Because if they start to tune you out or you aren't able to capture their attention from the get-go, then it doesn't really matter what you say, right? How you start off your presentation or talk is quite similar to making a good impression. When you meet someone for the very first time, they will make a judgment call about you within the first 30 seconds. That's similar to a presentation or a talk. You have a few seconds to make a good impression and get them hooked. There are many aspects to a well-executed and engaging and compelling presentation, from the introduction to the body to how you close out, but I don't want to overwhelm you with too much information. So today we'll just talk about 3 simple strategies that you can implement right away to hook the audience from the start. You'll also find that you can also incorporate these tips in other parts of your presentation, right? It's not just in the intro. There is totally room for flexibility. And speaking of flexibility, once you start getting the hang of the structure of a strong presentation and you're adept at utilizing the strategies, then you can essentially make it your own, however you want. We don't want your presentation to be a cookie cutter, right? We want it to be unique and authentic to you. My first tip to hook an audience is to ask a question. Ask a question. Have you ever been in a class where your teacher was boring? Let's say boring you. I think we can all agree that that's happened to all of us at some point growing up. Let's say you are chatting with a classmate or you're starting to doze off. What do you think is the most effective way for your teacher to get you to pay attention again? Hey, Kathy, tell me, what was the plot of Romeo and Juliet? I guarantee you that that simple question would snap anyone out of what they were doing. That's how effective questions are. It tells your audience to listen up and pay attention. But it's not good enough to just ask a question. You need to put some thought into what your question is. It has to make sense. I always tell my students that if they're going to use the question approach, that it either has to evoke some kind of emotion or be thought-provoking. The beauty of questions is that you can pepper them as many times as you want throughout your speech to recapture your audience's attention again. The other great thing about questions is that you can answer them yourself as well. It doesn't always have to be an open-ended question. You can close the loop and provide your own answer. Okay? Questions, very powerful. My next tip is to walk them through an exercise. This is part of what I like to call a call to action, which means you are directing your audience to do something. Either they're going to physically do something like raise their hand or stand up or look at the audience members, or they're going to ponder something or question something. Okay? I love giving audience members direction. You aren't just telling them to pay attention, but you are engaging with them and giving them a task. Once again, if someone is dozing off or not paying attention, the quickest way to hook them is to say, Kathy, I'd like you to come up to the board and write down 3 reasons why you love teaching public speaking. I've been given a task, so now I'm engaged, even if I don't want to be. Let me give you an example of an exercise that one of my students does in her presentations. Her specific topic is about learning how to de-stress. So she will ask the audience members to close their eyes and take a deep breath in and out. And then she will ask them to do a quick body scan from head to toe while breathing deeply in and out. And while this is happening, she is guiding them during this body scan. So after everyone is done, she will ask them to open their eyes and ask how they felt. The answer will most likely be very relaxed. And she'll explain why she had them do the exercise. So the reason was to tell people that one of the simplest ways to manage stress is to take a couple of minutes to do deep breathing and a body scan. Instead of just telling them about the exercise, she walked them through it. It's genius, actually. Another strategy that is similar to demonstrating an exercise is to help your audience set the scene. So if we use the same example of relaxation and de-stress, perhaps have the audience members close their eyes and imagine a place of serenity. So let's use a beach, for example. What you will do is guide the audience to visualize the waves. How does it feel? Is it cool? And how relaxing is the sand? How does it feel between your toes? What does the air smell like? What does it feel like? Can they feel the warmth of the sun on their faces? Setting the scene and inviting the audience to use their five senses can be very powerful. Again, this is another example of showing the audience what you are teaching them instead of just saying it. You can see how getting your audience to be a participant in your talk can be very, very effective. My next tip is to tell a story. Tell a story. Humans have been telling stories since the dawn of mankind. It's how we get information out, it's how lessons are taught, it's how we communicate. To this day, we continue to tell stories. Just go back to when you were a child. Everyone learned how to read and how to speak and write through stories, right? Fast forward to you as an adult and we see stories told on TV, in books, in magazines, through art, etc., etc. Stories shape our society and culture and who we are. And the reason why stories are so powerful is because stories keep you engaged and it helps you remember the lessons taught, okay? Think of the stories you grew up reading. You were mesmerized by the characters and the journey they went on in the story. And because the story made you feel something, right? Made you feel something, it certainly did, whether that's excitement, joy, maybe sadness, that helps you remember the details of the story. So telling a story to kickstart your presentation might be effective in engaging your audience. Again, just like doing an exercise or asking questions, your story must make sense. There has to be intention about why you are picking that particular story. Perhaps the story is going to teach your audience a lesson or make them uncover a problem, which will serve as your launch pad into your presentation. And remember, it doesn't have to be someone else's story that you're telling. You can certainly use your own story to set the tone or kick off your presentation. Maybe you are presenting about conquering obstacles and you start out by telling your own story of how you overcame something extraordinary. But whatever it is that you want to tell, just remember that it has to make sense for your presentation. That's all for today, everyone. Just to recap, my 3 tips to hooking an audience is ask a question, walk them through an exercise, or tell a story. If you liked this video and found it helpful, remember to hit the like button below, share it, subscribe, do all that other stuff so that other people can benefit. If you have any questions or topic ideas, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you would like to learn more about the other public speaking programs that I offer, hit the link above to go to my website, sparkyourspeaking.com. See you next week.